Hello students, welcome to our online platform. Myself Engineer PP sir, your physics mentor. So students, in today's lecture we are going to talk about magnetic effect of current. Magnetic effect of current. So it is clear from its name itself that we are going to talk about magnetic effects which are produced due to current flow in any conductor. So Oersted was first who explained that magnetic field is established in surrounding of a current carrying conductor. He considered, let us say this is a conductor in which current I is flowing. Then in its surrounding magnetic field is produced. So these are magnetic field lines, or you can say magnetic lines of force. Magnetic field exists as long there current in the wire. So magnetic field around that current carrying conductor depends on amount of current flowing up to a certain time period. So it exists as long as there is current in the wire. The direction of magnetic field was found to be changed when direction of current was reversed. So if we change the direction of current in the conductor, then direction of magnetic field also gets reversed. A moving charge produces magnetic as well as electric field. So we have studied it in electrostatics also, that any moving charge produces electric field as well as magnetic field. So it produces electric field as well as magnetic field, while if we talk about a static charge, then it produces only electric field. Then let us talk about Biot-Savart law. So Biot-Savart law is basically if we talk if we talk about Biot-Savart's law, then Biot-Savart law is basically used to determine magnetic field at any point due to a current carrying conductor. So Biot-Savart law is basically used to give magnetic field at any point due to current carrying conductor. So according to Biot-Savart law, let us say we are considering a small piece of a wire, which is current carrying. It means current I is flowing through this wire. So we are considering a small cross section, a small portion here of length dl. So we have to calculate current flow for this conductor. So we consider this AB is known as current element. It is known as current element, which is represented as I into dl. So I into dl is current element, which is a vector quantity. So if we talk about current element, then it is a vector quantity, and if we talk about current, then it is a scalar quantity. So its direction can be represented as I dl vector. Then now see, this is a current carrying conductor and we have to find magnetic field at this point P, which is situated at r distance. Then according to Biot-Savart, that this relation is dB is equal to IDL sine theta upon r square. dB is equal to K IDL sine theta upon r square. So value of K, so here K is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi. K is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi, or we can say it is 10 to the power minus 7. It is 10 to the power minus 7. So value of K is mu naught upon 4 pi, or we can say it is equal to 10 to the power minus 7, and its unit is Weber upon ampere meter. So this is the value of K. See, if we have to calculate total magnetic field intensity, then we can integrate this relation to find magnetic field intensity due to the complete length of wire. So it can be taken as mu naught I upon 4 pi integration dl sine theta upon r square. Here theta is the angle between current element and position vector. So it is an angle between current element and position vector. Clear? So now see, you can get its dimensions and its SI units from here. So K is 1 in CGS unit. So dB is equal to I dl sine theta upon r square Gauss. So if we talk about SI unit for magnetic field, if we talk about SI unit for magnetic field, then its SI unit is Tesla and its CGS unit is Gauss. CGS unit is Gauss. So there is relation 1 Tesla is equal to 10 to the power 4 Gauss. 1 Tesla is equal to 10 to the power 4 Gauss. This is the relation in Tesla and Gauss. So this is the general concept of Biot-Savart law. Now let us talk about different forms of Biot-Savart law. Let us talk about different forms of Biot-Savart law. So here, vector form. In vector form, we can represent dB vector is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi I dl vector cross r vector upon r square. So we have seen this relation. It is r cube. If we place here r cap, then we can say that dB vector is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi I dl vector cross r cap upon r square. So these two representations are there in vector form. If we talk about Biot-Savart's law in terms of current density, then current density is simply defined as J is equal to I upon A. So we can say that dB vector is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi and it is J vector cross R vector upon R cube. J vector cross R vector upon R cube, where J is equal to I upon A, and we can say it is I dl upon A dl. So I dl upon dV. J can be represented as I upon A. If we multiply by dl in numerator and denominator, then it is equal to I dl upon dV. Clear? So current density at any point of element, dV is volume of that element. Then Biot-Savart law in terms of charge and its velocity. So if we place in its terms of velocity, then we can say that dB vector is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi q into v vector cross r vector upon r cube. V vector cross r vector upon r cube. This is the representation in terms of velocity. Now see, if we talk about similarities and differences between Biot-Savart law and Coulomb's law, then let us say the current element produces a magnetic field, whereas a point charge produces electric field. So we have seen this relation earlier. The magnitude of magnetic field varies as the inverse square of distance from the current element. It means magnetic field is directly proportional to 1 upon r square. It means it obeys inverse square law. The electric field created by a point charge is radial, but the magnetic field created by a current element is perpendicular to both length element and unit vector. So here magnetic field is perpendicular. Let us say this is an current element. Current is in this direction, and let us say length element is dl at any place. Then magnetic field is always perpendicular. Magnetic field is perpendicular to I vector, current, and dl vector means current element. Then direction of magnetic field. So direction of magnetic field can be given by these different rules. So let us say first rule is Maxwell's corkscrew law. So Maxwell corkscrew law is basically used to give the direction. According to this rule, if we imagine a right-handed screw, let us say this is a screw and it is placed along the current. This screw is placed along the current. Then if we rotate this screw, then rotation of this screw represents direction of magnetic field. Then its advancement will represent direction of electric current. So it is simply explained here. If it is rotated such that the screw moves in the direction of flow of current, then direction of rotation gives the direction of magnetic field, or you can say direction of magnetic field lines. So simply you can consider that when a screw is tightened or loosened, then direction of its advancement is given, represents electric current, and direction of its rotation will represent direction of magnetic field. Then right hand thumb rule. So right hand thumb rule can be explained for two types of currents, one for linear and another for circular currents. Let us say this is a straight current carrying conductor. So according to right hand rule, that hold this current carrying conductor in right hand in such a way that thumb gives the direction of electric current. Thumb gives the direction of electric current, then folded fingers will give the direction of magnetic field. So folded fingers will represent direction of magnetic field this way. So this is right hand thumb rule. Similarly, if we talk about right hand thumb rule for circular currents, then this is the similar condition. Let us say we are having a circular conductor and we fold our fingers of right hand in the direction of current flow in circular current, then thumb will represent direction of magnetic field. So it is reversed of right hand thumb rule for straight wires. Similarly, right hand palm rule. So right hand palm rule represents that let us hold a wire in right hand in such a way that thumb represents the direction of electric current, then the straight fingers will represent direction of magnetic field. So the palm, or you can say palm, will show the direction of magnetic field. So this way, if we hold a straight current carrying conductor in right hand in such a way that current is in direction of thumb, then this palm will represent direction of magnetic field. Then applications of Biot-Savart law. So if we talk about applications of Biot-Savart law, then applications of Biot-Savart law. First is magnetic field due to a circular current. So if we have to find magnetic field due to a circular current, then this magnetic field can be found out with the help of Biot-Savart law. So let us say we are having a circular current carrying coil of radius small r, and we have to find magnetic field at x distance from its center. Then this relation, this distance x or this point P is situated on the axis of this circular coil. So in this condition, magnetic field at this axial point is given by B axis is equal to mu naught Ni x square upon 2 into r square plus x square whole power 3 by 2. So this is the relation of magnetic field at axial point of a circular current carrying coil. Here x is distance of that point where we are going to find magnetic field from center of the coil, r is the radius, and n are number of turns in this coil. N are number of turns in coil, and I is amount of current flowing through it. So this is the general relation of magnetic field intensity. Now let us talk about different cases related to it. First case where we are going to find magnetic field at the center. So if we calculate magnetic field at the center, then in that case this x becomes equal to 0. So at the center x becomes 0. So if we place x is equal to 0 there, then this relation is equal to mu naught Ni upon 2r. It means magnetic field at the center of the circular coil is equal to mu naught Ni upon 2r. So this relation will be used to calculate numerous pattern of numericals based on magnetic field for circular coil. If we talk about single coil, single turn, it means there is only one turn in that coil. So here n will be equal to 1 and it will be Bc is equal to mu naught I upon 2r. So this is the general relation. Now if we say that B in air is proportional to n, here I and r are constant. Similarly, B is proportional to I if n and r constant. So you can take any values as constant, then rest will be variable quantity which will affect magnetic field. Second case, ratio of B center and B axis. What is the ratio of magnetic field at the center and magnetic field at the axis of circular coil? So this is the ratio, B center upon B axis. Center, it is mu naught Ni upon 2r, and at axis it is mu naught ni x square upon 2 into r square plus x square whole power 3. So mu naught n upon 2 is cancel out, I is also cancel out, and this relation becomes b center upon b axis is equal to 1 plus x square upon r square whole power 3 by 2. So this is the ratio. Now if x is equal to plus minus a, then magnetic field at that place is equal to, if x is equal to plus minus a, then magnetic field is equal to 2 root 2 pa. In that case, BC is equal to 2 root 2 BA. Similarly, if x is equal to plus minus a by 2, if x is equal to plus minus a by 2, then in that case BC is equal to 5 root 5 upon 8 of BA. So these are some standard relations which can be derived if you know the formula of B axis, magnetic field at axial point. Now magnetic field at very large or very small distance from the center. So if we calculate magnetic field at very large distance, it means x is much greater than r. In that case, here r can be ignored. In that case, here r can be ignored. So it will be 0, and in denominator it becomes x cube. So x square is there in numerator, so it will be mu naught ni upon 2x. So in that case, it will be mu naught ni upon 2x, or in terms of area, we can say that b axis is equal to mu naught 2 pi ni r square upon x cube. Now, if x is much smaller than r, then in that case b axis is not equal to b center, but by using binomial theorem, we can use b axis is equal to b center into 1 minus 3 by 2 x square upon r square. So it can be calculated from this relation. Now points of inflection. So what are points of inflection? So if we talk about points of inflection, then these points of inflection in this given graph are A and A dash. So if we draw a graph between magnetic field and distance x, then this is the graphical representation where these points are known as points of inflection. Let us say this is point A dash and this is point A. So point of inflection is at x is equal to plus minus r by 2. So at plus minus r by 2 point of inflection are there. It means also known as points of curvature change or points of zero curvature. So points of inflection is a point situated on a graph where slope of graph changes, graph changes, or we can say curvature changes. So at these points b varies linearly with x. It means dB upon dx remains constant, slope is constant, and second order differentiation of magnetic field with respect to distance is equal to 0. So this is the general meaning of point of inflection. dB upon dx is equal to constant, and d square b upon dx square is equal to 0. Now these points are located at x is equal to plus minus r by 2. So I have discussed it earlier. Separation between points of inflection is equal to radius of coil. Application of points of inflection is Helmholtz coil arrangement. So if we talk about that, what is the concept of using this point of inflection? So this concept is used in Helmholtz coil. The magnetic field at x is equal to r by 2 is, so we have seen this magnetic field, it is 4 upon 5 root 5 mu naught ni upon 2r, or we can say that b is equal to 8 upon 5 root 5 of magnetic field at center. This is the relation. So B is equal to 8 upon 5 root 5 BC. Now let us talk about Helmholtz coil. So what is a Helmholtz coil and how it is used? So this is the setup of two coaxial coils of same radius such that distance between their centers is equal to their radius. So if two coils are placed nearby in such a way that separation between their centers is equal to their radius, in that case such an arrangement is known as Helmholtz coil. Then these coils are used to obtain uniform magnetic field of short range, which is obtained between the coils. At axial point O, magnetic field is given by B is equal to 8 upon A 5 root 5 mu naught Ni upon R. So if we talk about magnetic field, then for Helmholtz coil, magnetic field at center is given as B is equal to 16 upon 5 root 5 BC. 16 upon 5 root 5 BC, or we can say it is 1.432 BC. It means magnetic field at the midpoint of Helmholtz coil is 1.32 times of magnetic field at center of a circular coil. Then magnetic field due to current carrying circular arcs. So let us talk about magnetic field due to current carrying circular arcs. So we are given different circular arcs and we have to find magnetic field intensity for them. So here I'm explaining a general formula. So this general formula is B is equal to mu naught Ni upon 4 pi r into integration d theta. Let us say this is the general formula. So it is B is equal to mu naught Ni upon 4 pi r into integration d theta. Now let us say this is a semicircle. This is a semicircle. So here angle is pi. So this angle is pi radian. So if we place integration d theta is equal to pi, then this relation is mu naught Ni upon 4r. Mu naught Ni upon 4r. So you can compare your relation with it. Here number of turn is taken as 1. So it is mu naught I upon 4r. Similarly, in this case, we are given angle theta. So this is the angle theta. So its relation will be mu naught Ni theta upon 4 pi r. So here it is mu naught n is 1. So mu naught theta I upon 4 pi r. Now say if you are given this outer angle, then angle between these two ends is 2 pi minus theta. So it is 2 pi minus theta. So here integration d theta will be 2 pi minus theta and relation will be same. So this is a general concept. This is a general concept which can be used to find value of magnetic field due to any current carrying circular arc. Now see special results. If magnetic field at the center of circular coil is denoted by mu naught upon 4 pi into 2 pi I upon r, then magnetic field at the center of arc which is making an angle theta, so it is B naught upon 2 pi into theta. So this formula is taken from this. So either you can keep in mind this formula or directly you can say mu naught Ni upon 4 pi r into integration d theta. It can be taken like this. Now see concentric circular loops for number of turn as 1. So if you are given concentric circular loops, in those circular loops number of turns are equal to 1. First is coplanar and concentric. It means both coils are in same plane with common center. So in this condition, let us say we are given that this is a circular coils which are concentric like this. Let us say radius of inner one is R1 and radius of outer one is R2 and current I is flowing through them. Let us say current I is flowing in both the circular loops. So here we have to calculate magnetic field. So this magnetic field can be calculated. B is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi into 2 pi I into 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2. Or you can directly say that magnetic field at the center of a circular loop is equal to mu naught Ni upon 2R. Then we can say that B is equal to mu naught I upon 2 and it is 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2. So this is the general concept. Now see, if direction of current is opposite, if direction of current is opposite, then magnetic field at the center is mu naught upon 2, mu naught I upon 2 into 1 upon R1 minus 1 upon R2. In that case, magnetic field, resultant magnetic field can be calculated by subtracting from each other. Now see, for non-planar and concentric. So in case of non-planar and concentric loops, so here we are given two non-planar and concentric loops like this. So in this condition, we are given that current in both the loops, let us say current in this loop is flowing I1 and current in this loop is flowing as I2. So magnetic field due to this is, let us say, B1, and magnetic field due to this is B2. So here B1 and B2 are mutually perpendicular to each other. It means resultant magnetic field can be calculated by using the formula B is equal to root of B1 square plus B2 square. So we can say here radius is same for both the circular loops. Radius is same, through it is mu naught upon 2r, and current will be equal to I1 square plus I2 square. So this is the general concept for non-planar, non-coplanar and concentric circular loops. Now similarly, magnetic field due to a straight current carrying wire. Magnetic field due to straight current carrying wire. Let us say this is a straight current carrying wire where we are considering these angles as phi 1 and phi 2, these angles as alpha and beta. So if you are given these angles phi 1 and phi 2, then our formula is B is equal to mu naught I upon 4 pi r into sine phi 1 plus sine phi 2. Sine phi 1 plus sine phi 2. So phi 1, phi 2 are these angles. Let us say this is phi 1 and this is phi 2. But if you are given angles alpha and beta, then in this case we can say that B is equal to mu naught I upon 4 pi r into cos alpha minus cos beta. Cos alpha minus cos beta. So this is a general magnetic field for a current carrying wire at point P, which is at perpendicular distance r. So this is the general concept. Now see, we are discussing different concepts based on this relation. So let us talk about these. So here we are considering different cases. Here we are talking about different cases. So first case is, let us say, when the linear conductor xy is of finite length. Let us say this linear conductor xy is of finite length and point P lies on its perpendicular bisector. So this point P lies at perpendicular bisector. It means here angle phi 1 and phi 2 will be same. Angle phi 1 and phi 2 will be same. So phi 1 is equal to phi 2. So in this case magnetic field will be equal to mu naught I upon 4 pi r into 2 sine phi. Because our formula was sine phi 1 plus sine phi 2. So both angles are same. So sine phi plus sine phi is equal to 2 sine phi. Now second case, when the linear conductor xy is of infinite length and midpoint P lies near the center of conductor. So in this case, let us say this point P is like this and both are at infinite ends. So it means we can say that these ends are at infinite, so that infinite end will make an angle of 90 degree with point P. Similarly, this infinite end will also make an angle of 90 degree. So here this will be like this. So this angle both are of 90 degree, and sine 90 plus sine 90 becomes equal to 2, and magnetic field intensity for a current carrying conductor of infinite length now becomes equal to B is equal to mu naught I upon 2 pi r. So it becomes equal to mu naught I upon 2 pi r. So always keep in mind, magnetic field intensity for a current carrying wire of infinite length, it is mu naught I upon 2 pi r. Now third case, when the linear conductor is of infinite length and point P lies near the end y or x. It means one end is at infinite and point P lies either at any end, either at x or y. So in this case, this one angle will be of 90 degree and this another angle phi becomes equal to 0. So one angle is of 90 degree and another is of 0 degree. So in this case, B is equal to mu naught I upon 4 pi r. Mu naught I upon 4 pi r. Clear? So if one end is at infinite and point P is at perpendicular distance from another point, in that case magnetic field will be mu naught I upon 4 pi r. Now see, when point P lies on axial position of current carrying conductor, then magnetic field at point P is 0. So it always keep in mind that in the direction of current carrying conductor, magnetic field is always 0. If point P is situated along a point which is along the axis of current carrying conductor, then magnetic field is always 0. The value of magnetic field induction at a point on the center of separation of two linear parallel conductors carrying equal currents in the same direction is 0. It means, let us say that we are given two current carrying conductors, same amount of current is flowing through them, and we have to find magnetic field at the center or at the midpoint of these two conductors. Then always keep in mind, magnetic field due to this current carrying conductor is inwards and magnetic field due to this current carrying conductor outwards. Magnetic field due to both of them at this midpoint is same, so net magnetic field is equal to 0 if they are similar nature of current carrying conductor and same amount of current is flowing in same direction. Then see, our next concept is, we are given these some surfaces where magnetic field is 0. When magnetic field is 0, so if in a symmetrical geometry current enters from one end and exits from other, then magnetic field at the center 0. So always keep in mind, in symmetric figures where current enters from one end and exits from another end, then in such symmetric figures, magnetic field will be 0 at the center. So this is, current is entering from here and it is exiting from here. So magnetic field at center is 0. Here current is entering and here current is leaving, means again magnetic field is 0. Here current is entering and it is exiting. So in every case, in every figure which is in front of you, you can clearly see that if current enters from one end and it exits from another end, then magnetic field at the center of that symmetric figure will be 0. Now see some concepts. So now let us talk about some concepts based on, if current carrying circular loop is turned into a coil having n identical turns, then magnetic field at the center of coil becomes n square times the previous field. It means that if a current carrying circular loop is turned into a coil having n identical turns, it is being converted into n identical turns like this, in n identical turns, then magnetic field at the center of this coil becomes n square times. So BC is equal to n square B. So this B is magnetic field of this initial coil and this BC is magnetic field at the center of this new coil, which is formed by n turns of given coil. So here BC is equal to n square B. It means we can say that magnetic field at the center of the coil becomes n square times the previous field. Now when a current carrying coil is suspended freely in Earth's magnetic field, then its plane stays in east-west direction. So if a current carrying coil is freely suspended, then it will always stay in EW direction. EW means east-west direction. Magnetic field produced by a moving charge is given by mu naught upon 4 pi q. So see, its relation is given as B is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi q into V vector cross R vector upon R cube. So this is the magnetic field due to moving charge. Magnetic field due to moving charge, V vector cross R vector upon R cube. If an electron is revolving in a circular path of radius r with speed v, then magnetic field produced at the center of circular path is So in this case, magnetic field will be mu naught upon 4 pi, and it will be qv upon r square. So q becomes equal to E because we are talking about electron. V is velocity of electron, r is radius of that circular path. Now let us talk about few examples. So we are given that current flows due north in horizontal transmission line. Magnetic field at point P vertically above is directed. So we can find direction of magnetic field. So magnetic field at point P vertically above. So we can calculate its direction by right hand rule, right hand thumb rule. So from right, using the right hand thumb rule, let us say current is flowing in this direction, magnetic field is in upward direction. So it is towards east. This is the east direction. So this is the current I, which is from south to north. So current is flowing from south to north. Then in this case, deflection will be towards east. Deflection will be towards east by Oersted's law. Magnetic field due to a current carrying loop or a coil at a distant point P is B1, and at an equal distance in its plane is B2, then B2 upon B1. So let us say we are given a coil and we have to calculate magnetic field. So magnetic field due to this current carrying loop at a distant axial point P is B1, and at an equal distance in its plane is B2. So let us say this is that point P where magnetic field is B1, and this is a point Q where magnetic field is B2. So we have to give the relation. Both are situated at similar distance. Here it is also X and here it is also X. So in this case, magnetic field intensity, so current carrying coil behave as a bar magnet as shown in figure. So we also know that for a bar magnet, if axial and equatorial distance are same, then relation in those magnetic fields is B1 is equal to 2B2. It means we can clearly say that magnetic field at axial point is equal to twice of magnetic field at equatorial point. So B1 upon B2 is equal to 2 raised to 1. Similarly, next question. Next, let us say we are given that find out the magnitude of magnetic field at point P due to following current distribution. So we are given a following current distribution which is shown in figure, and we have to calculate magnitude of electric field, magnitude of magnetic field at this point P. So see, this point P, it is 2b sine theta. Net magnetic field is 2b sine theta because horizontal components are, this is angle theta, so this angle will also be theta. Here this angle will also be theta. So this component is b sine theta. Its component in this direction is also b sine theta. Its vertical component is b cos theta. Its vertical component also b cos theta. So vertical components will cancel out each other. It means net magnetic field is b P is equal to 2b sine theta. 2b sine theta, where B is magnetic field due to one wire at point P. So which is mu naught I upon 2 pi r. Magnetic field due to one wire is mu naught I upon 2 pi r because it is considered to be of infinite length. Sine theta can be calculated from our relation. So sine theta is A upon r. So sine theta is equal to A upon r. Value of B is mu naught I upon 2 pi r. So 2b sine theta. 2b sine theta means it is BP is equal to 2b sine theta. So 2 is cancel out and it is mu naught IA upon pi r square. Mu naught I A upon pi r square. So any option having this value, mu naught I A upon pi r square will be correct. So similarly, this last question can also be, what will be the resultant magnetic field at origin due to 4 infinite length wires if each wire produces magnetic field B at origin? So here we are given 4 wires of infinite length. 4 wires. This is first, second, third and fourth. And we have to calculate magnetic field B at origin at this place. So magnetic field, let us say this is of infinite wire like this. Magnetic field at x distance from its point. So in this condition, its magnetic field will be mu naught I upon 2 pi x. Mu naught I upon 2 pi x. Let us see its direction. So its direction is given as outwards. So let us say it is B4. So B4 is mu naught I upon 2 pi x outwards. Here B3 is similarly also, but it is inwards. So B3 is mu naught I upon 2 pi x, but it is in inward direction. Similarly, B2 is also inward and B1 is also B1 is outwards. So here we can say that B1 and B2 are in same plane and B3 and B4 are same plane. It means B1, B2 and B3, B4 are mutually perpendicular. Resultant of B1, B2 and resultant of B3, B4 are mutually perpendicular. So let us say its magnetic field is B, its magnetic field is B dash. So resultant magnetic field B resultant is equal to root of B square plus B dash square. It can be calculated from here, and B is B1 plus B2 and B dash is B3 plus B4. So it can be calculated from this relation. So that's it from this topic. We will discuss our remaining portion like Ampere's law and its application, pattern of questions. Based on that, we will discuss this topic in our next lecture. So thank you for watching today's lecture. We will meet in our next lecture with our new topic, which is Ampere's law. Thank you.